Okay. Oh my. And we begin. Hi there, I'm Jeff Beers, and for those of you who don't know me or what I do, I'm a filmmaker who usually makes his own short films. Feature we just did Fabric of the Mind, which is there's a little scene behind me right now. This first video is the top 10 films that I watched in college. Back in first semester, we had a class, film history, that we'd have from 8:30 to 1 every Monday. And yeah, long classes, I know, but we'd usually watch 2 films back to back. But we started with modern cinema, and we worked our way back to the beginning of cinema. That way we could get into the class easier. So it wasn't, a bunch of kids who, wanted to make films and then they're instantly bored with some of these films from the 1920s or 1930s, 40s. Granted, I know 100% everyone in that class has fallen asleep at least once or twice during these movies. There were so many movies we watched. So basically, this is a list of the films I saw in college that I didn't fall asleep to. I'm completely kidding. In reality, these 10 films are the most memorable films I recall from college. As you can tell, this is my list, my opinion. I'm sure if anyone from the class made their own list, it would be pretty different, possibly. But I'm me, and they are them for a reason, so let's get into the list. Number 10, Sexy Beast, 2000. When a gangster, Don Logan, hires a retired safecracker for one last job, things do not go either of their ways. The director of this, Jonathan Glazer, before he came on to direct Sexy Beast, which was his first feature film, he was mainly a director for music videos, which does speak to a certain level of how this film is put together. Sexy Beast, when I say it, and when I first heard it, because this was the first film in college that I actually watched, Sexy Beast might not sound like a cinema classic, but to me, with this being the first film I watched in college and it being one hell of a class act, I just had to put it as my number 10. Ben Kingsley. This man slams it out of the park, as usual with about everything else he does, but Kingsley is sure the showstopper here. I mean, not because the rest of the film lacks, but it's simply because he jumped into his character, grabbed the script, and just took off. He is just outstanding, and the rest of the cast does a fine job as well, bringing this seemingly cliche heist story some new direction and new depth. The other ensemble of characters provide good moments as well. However, it is still topped by 9 other films on this list, so here we go. Number 9, Miller's Crossing. Miller's Crossing is directed by the Coen brothers, Ethan and Joe Coen, who are 2 very influential people to me in the world of film. Tom Reagan, who's played by Gabriel Byrne, is a mob crime boss advisor trying to keep peace between warring mobs and getting caught in divided loyalties. It's written by the Coens as well, and we get to see their own take on a Godfather-type film. Also included in the cast is Albert Finney. Now, Miller's Crossing is number 9 because of fine cinematography. I mean, I love the cinematography. It's done by Barry Sonnenfeld. The story, the direction, the acting, it's all on par. And I will always remember watching this film. Number 8, Duel, 1971. First off, before I even start this, some people who are in my class are going to be like, what is wrong with you? This movie, Duel, is the very essence of what filmmaking is. Most of my class had a big problem with this film, but I highly enjoyed it. It was a made-for-TV movie, and it was shot on a shoestring budget, but you want to know how I got it to work? Steven frickin' Spielberg, that's who. Before Jaws broke the summer blockbuster, before E.T. phoned home, we had Spielberg do a film about man versus machine. A simple plot that led to such an entertaining film.
Okay. You want to play games?
A business commuter is pursued and terrorized by the malevolent driver of a massive tractor trailer. Told you, simple. A man being chased by another man in a big truck. Sounds kind of humorous, actually, but not with Steven Spielberg. The film was nominated twice at the Primetime Emmy Awards in 1972, winning Outstanding Achievement in Film Sound Editing. Also nominated for a Golden Globe for Best Movie Made for TV. Oh, and quick sidebar fact. Spoiler alert if you have not seen Jaws or this movie. When the shark dies in Jaws, it's the same sound as the truck from Duel. Number 7, we have Knife in the Water, 1962. The thing I love most about this film is how remote it is, how small the story is, but we all can kind of relate. It's directed by Roman Polanski, who directed Rosemary's Baby, which is another fantastic film we watched in college that is unfortunately not on this list, so sorry people, there's a fly in front of me. It's probably because I just said Rosemary's Baby is not on this list. But anyways, Knife in the Water is a story centered around 3 characters and a sailboat, which is, in turn, kind of its own character. A wife, a husband, and a hitchhiker, creating tension in an atmosphere that I honestly love to relive. I never thought I would like this film. I never thought that I would find enjoyment. I never thought it was going to be on a top 10 list for me. Come on. This one, for sure, has pushed its way to getting into my heart. Also, another film that's excellent and sort of has a similar idea dealing with limited characters and setting is Alfred Hitchcock's Rope, which is also a classic for sure. Number 6, Super, 2010. So you know the wonderful director of Guardians of the Galaxy, James Gunn? Yeah, well, this was his first film taking on superheroes. Kinda. Not really superheroes, as you can tell he's that. This is all James Gunn and his humor, and it hits every mark on this darkly hilarious ride with Dwight from The Office. I mean, Rainn Wilson, I'm sorry, dude. Also in the cast is Ellen Page, who plays Bolty, Dwight's sidekick. I'm just going to call him Dwight from now on. Anyways, after Dwight, but not actually Dwight, loses his wife to the influence of a drug dealer played by Kevin Bacon. Okay, stop. Can we take a minute and... People say Samuel L. Jackson is in every movie. What about Kevin Bacon? I mean, there's literally a site called the Oracle of Bacon, which shows you how far away from a film that has Kevin Bacon in it. And I'm posting a link so you all can go to this site and check out what your score is. I have a score of 3, I think? Anyways, I really need to stop getting sidetracked. After a drug dealer's influence takes away Dwight's Angela, played by Liv Tyler, we see the average office hero with hallucinations turn into the Crimson Bolt. When trouble finds him, will he be able to fight it since he has no real superpowers of his own? This is a fun time, and I genuinely enjoyed every part of this film. Even the very discomforting scenes that James Gunn loves to put in to make the audience feel awkward, so I'd definitely recommend checking it out. Number 5, The Shining, 1980. You can't have a list of great films without Stanley Kubrick. The man is a genius and a legend, changing his genre of film every time and challenging himself. That's honestly what you rarely see nowadays with filmmakers. With a film like The Shining, it's so hard to look away. Every scene has you transfixed on what's going to happen next, including... I love that scene. A family heads into an isolated hotel for the winter where an evil spiritual presence influences the father into violence, while his psychic son sees horrific forebodings from the past and of the future. Also, I'm totally reading these off of IMDb because, they can describe it better. Also, quick break for this scene.
Here's Johnny!
Yeah, I had to. It's like talking about Psycho without showing the shower scene. I might need to show the shower scene now. But The Shining was originally based on Stephen King's novel of the same name. The plot remains from book to film, but there are a couple things left out. Stephen King has even said he did not like the way The Shining was made. Most of us, though, including me, love this film. This film is a masterpiece and so detailed. It's a must-watch for anyone who loves horror and good stories. Number 4 is The Red Violin, or Les Violins Rouges, 1998. I totally didn't realize while making this list that Samuel L. Jackson was in this movie, even when I made the joke earlier about Kevin Bacon being in every movie. The movie, though, is such an underappreciated film. It's from France. It's directed by Francois Girard. The movie is about a perfect red-colored violin inspires passion, making its way through 3 centuries over several owners and countries, eventually ending up at an auction where it may find a new owner. This film, to me, is so great because the film travels so many different times and you could still understand what's happening. Many characters, many places, but we know where we are all the time. This is a much smaller film, but it has a big spot in film for myself. We are moving on to our top 3.
Action.
That's what you say at the beginning of a take. Alright, so number 3 is Chinatown from 1974. Chinatown is always going to be one of my favorite films ever made. This film really displays corruption, family faults, and much more to such a degree. Chinatown is about a private detective hired to expose an adulterer who finds himself caught in a web of deceit, corruption, and crime. Chinatown is about a private detective hired to expose an adulterer who finds himself caught up in a web of deceit, corruption, and murder. Now, Jack Nicholson and Faye Dunaway really hit both roles home, they who play the leads. Some people may be surprised, but I think the standout here is Faye Dunaway herself. I mean, her character is so hidden, but it's exposed at the same time. And we felt for her in the end. We really tried to get a grasp on who she was, and when we finally got to see her true character, we got to see how interesting she was, and we were not let down. But that's also in part due to the writing, which to this day is one of the greatest screenplays ever written. Robert Towne passed this story on to Roman Polanski, who once again is on this list. Earlier, he was on for Knife in the Water. This film has been nominated for 11 Oscars in 1975, winning for Best Original Screenplay. Both leads got an acting nomination, and Polanski for directing. It's safe to say this is one of the better films in 1974. Moving on. So for my number 2 pick is Touch of Evil, 1958. This film. Even before I dare talk about this, I need to show the opening scene, but it's so ahead of its time. And I don't really want to get into describing it right now because this isn't really a film analysis. The opening shot is described perfectly over at Cinefix, which I'll put in the link below because those guys are pretty awesome. Their videos entertain me so much, and I highly recommend them to anybody who's into the idea of behind the scenes in filmmaking and little stories and true facts that most people don't know. But that's literally, that shot was literally just the surface of this film. Orson Welles creates a spectacle that, to me, is not far from being as good as Citizen Kane, which was Welles' first film, and some say that was the greatest film ever made. A stark, perverse story of murder, kidnapping, and police corruption in a Mexican border town. We see Charlton Heston giving his all against Orson Welles, who is also the main antagonist of this film. This feature was made on a budget of $830,000, which is a ton of money back then. Inflation added in, a budget of $830,000 is worth way over $6 million. And yet, there are films being made with more money that are terrible. Touch of Evil is a visual wonder. The mood is set right from the beginning, and we know we are in for a ride. For sure, one of the best films I have ever seen. Number 1, Godfather Part 1 and Part 2, 1972 and 1974. Like I said before, you can't have a list of great films without Stanley Kubrick, but you certainly can't have a list of best films ever without either of these two films. The third is kind of another story. I look at The Godfather Part 1 and Part 2 as equals. I think the second is better overall, but the first, that classic cold open, gets me sinking in my chair every time because I know I'm in for a good time. Marlon Brando, Al Pacino, Diane Keaton, James Caan, Robert Duvall, Robert De Niro, just a few of the talented faces we see throughout these two films, brought to us by Francis Ford Coppola and Mauro Puzo, who helped pen the film. Now, the first film won a total of 3 Oscars, including Best Picture, Actor in a Leading Role for Marlon Brando, who didn't even show up for his award, and also Best Writing based on material from another medium. In Godfather Part 1, we are introduced to Michael, the young and idealistic son of Vito Corleone, the head of the most powerful mafia clan in New York. He returns home as a war hero and is determined to live his own life, but tragic circumstances make him face the legacy of his family. In Godfather Part 2, we witness the early life and career of Vito Corleone in 1920s New York portrayed, while his son Michael expands and tightens his grip on his crime syndicate stretching from Lake Tahoe, Nevada to pre-revolution 1958 Cuba. Now, both films are amazing in their own right, and I highly recommend both of them, and they are the best films I watched in college. And I want to thank you, everyone who stuck around and watched. I really appreciate it, and I hope you guys like it. I'm going to do a lot more of these, more film reviews, more film analysis with a couple of my favorites. I have a couple ideas that are kind of in gear. I have guest stars that I want to put up. But also I want to include in this channel tips for writing, cinematography lessons, short films, and much more. Thank you guys. Have a nice day. And that's it. And the video's done.
How many more minutes do I have?
I just need to edit.